Here are the top stories for today, July 10, 2020. The Joint Task Force COVID Shield creates guidelines on motorcycle backriding for couples during the community quarantine. Malacanang allays fears of the possible entry of the bubonic plague from China. The government expresses its commitment to implement the Build program to revive the economy after struggling with COVID-19. And Palawan is cited as the world's best island in the Travel and Leisure 2020 World's Best Award. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Joint Task Force COVID Shield is now crafting specific guidelines on motorcycle backriding for couples passing through quarantine control points. The guidelines aim to ensure the health and safety of the riders and to make the policy foolproof against those pretending to be couples. JTF CD Shield Commander Lieutenant General Guillermo Eleazar ordered the checking of all passing motorcycles to make sure that they are indeed couples. Random mobile checkpoints will also be conducted, especially in Metro Manila and other urban areas. Eleazar advised motorcycle riders to always bring their identification cards and other documents that will prove that they are indeed a couple and living in the same address. A proactive implementation of localized lockdowns in Metro Manila is being eyed amid the COVID-19 pandemic. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año said this measure will contain the spread of the disease while gradually reopening the economy. Año cited the need to implement a lockdown immediately even if there is only one positive infected person, be it a community, neighborhood, a street, building, a household, or one barangay. He said this must be done so that we would be able to eventually reopen jobs and resume our work. Año encouraged those who have a suspicion of being in contact with a possible COVID-19 patient to come forward and subject themselves to testing. The DOH, IATF, EID, and the local government units in Cebu City work hand-in-hand to combat the surge of COVID-19 infections in the area. Marita Mawahe will give us a roundup of some measures being implemented to manage the disease.
DOH Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega urged private hospitals in Cebu City to fulfill their promised 30% increase in bed capacity intended for COVID-19 patients. In a meeting with Cebu hospital officials, Vega said the agency needs to make sure that the minimum standards of allocated beds for COVID-19 is 20% and a rolling of 10% if ever there will be a surge of cases. The DOH is also eyeing to make Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center a COVID-19 referral center to better manage the health crisis. Meanwhile, data from the DOH shows that more COVID-19 patients in Cebu City are under home or village quarantine than admitted in hospitals. DOH 7 Regional Director Dr. Jaime Bernada said 63% or 2,910 patients are in barangay isolation centers or at their own home, while 1,711 active infections are still confined in the hospitals. Majority of patients are asymptomatic. The DOH says they are now focusing on community hospitals and harmonized data in the fight against COVID-19 in the city. Another measure being undertaken in Cebu City is the strengthening of barangay referral system. IATF EID Deputy Chief Implementer for Cebu, Melquiades Feliciano, asked the barangay leaders to follow the guidelines under the system. Barangay leaders should know where to refer suspected COVID-19 patients, identify individuals who may have been infected with coronavirus, and determine if COVID-19 positive patient needs to be transferred to a hospital or can be managed at the barangay isolation center. This measure is being done to prevent hospitals from being overwhelmed. In the event that a COVID-19 patient pass away, Cebu City will soon have a burial site intended for them. The development of the 3-hectare burial site will soon commence at Sitio Catives 2 in the hinterland barangay of Guba. The undertaking is part of the city government's efforts to safely manage the remains of COVID-19 patients and ensure the public's health and safety. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
Malacanang maintains that the sharp rise in confirmed COVID-19 cases in the country is due to the ramped-up testing capacity. The total COVID-19 cases has breached the 50,000 mark, and it further climbed as of today. Despite the latest development, Roque believed that the government's move to expand national testing for COVID-19 would help stop the further spread of the new coronavirus. National Task Force Against COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer Vince Dizon earlier said the government is aiming to test 10 million Filipinos in the next 8 to 10 months.
May mga nagtatanong, bakit pa umabot sa mahigit 50,000 ang naging kaso ng COVID-19? Well, dahil tumataas po ang ating testing, mas maraming tao natetesting, mas maraming tayong nakikitang may COVID-19. Yan po ay mabuti dahil maihihiwalay natin sila. Ma-isolate natin sila, at pag na-isolate natin sila, hindi na po kakalat yung sakit.
Meanwhile, Malacanang allayed public fears over a confirmed case of the bubonic plague in China, saying the country's borders remain closed amid the prevailing COVID-19 pandemic. Bubonic plague is a bacterial infection acquired from the bite of infected fleas. Symptoms include fever, headache, chills, weakness, and one or more swollen, tender, and painful lymph nodes. The World Health Organization is carefully monitoring a case of bubonic plague in China's northern Inner Mongolia region, but says it is not high risk. According to the WHO, the bubonic plague can be treated using common antibiotics. However, it can have a case fatality rate of 30% to 60% if left untreated.
Well, siniseryoso po natin yan, pero wag po kayong mabahala kasi ang pagpasok po ng mga dayuhan naman sa Pilipinas ay hindi pa po pinapayagan ng malawakan, case-to-case basis lang po. So sarado pa po ang ating mga borders, bagamat po pwede pong mag-request on an individual basis yung mga merong mga balidong mga dahilan para pumasok ng Pilipinas. So sarado pa po ang ating mga borders.
And on to some good news. Donations are coming in from other countries and some private groups. The New Zealand Embassy in Manila donated a total of 800,000 pesos to the National Kidney and Transplant Institute for its procurement of additional personal protective equipment for healthcare workers. The embassy said 2 Filipino students approached Ambassador Peter Kell and appealed for PPE upon hearing that the center is having a shortage of equipment. NKTI Executive Director Dr. Rose Liquete thanked the embassy for the financial aid. Meanwhile, first gen of the Lopez Group donated 100 tents and 2 vans and with toilet and baths at the Manila International Airport Authority. These are intended for the locally stranded individuals at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 3. MIA General Manager Ed Monreal said the shower would be placed in the service parking area and that LSIs could go back inside the airport after using it. He said these facilities are not for everyone, but only for those who have confirmed tickets and whose flights are within 48 hours. Still to come, the government expresses its commitment to implement the Build, Build, Build program to revive the economy after struggling with COVID-19. The DTI and private sector unite to support women entrepreneurs amid the COVID-19 pandemic. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Patuloy pa rin ang laban natin sa COVID-19. And together, we can beat the solution.
B. Bawal walang mask.
I. Isanitize sa mga kamay. Iwas hawak sa mga bagay.
D. Umistansya ng 1 metro.
A. Alamin ang totoong impormasyon tungkol sa COVID-19.
Protektahan natin ang sarili at mga mahal sa buhay.
B-I-D-A. Be the solution sa COVID-19.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangang umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The government remains committed to implement its ambitious Build, Build, Build infrastructure program to revive the country's economy. President Duterte admitted on Tuesday that the Philippines cannot afford to totally reopen the Philippine economy amid the COVID-19 crisis due to a possible spike of cases in the country. During the pre-State of the Nation Address Forum on Wednesday, Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III said the resumption of infrastructure projects under the Build, Build, Build program is the best way to reboot the country's economy. DPWH Secretary Mark Villar also agrees, saying infrastructure program would help Filipinos remain employed or find opportunities for employment. Despite the pandemic, the North Luzon Expressway or NLEX, Harbor Link, the NLEX-SLEX connector, the Cavite-Laguna Expressway, the Metro Manila Skyway Stage 3, the R1 Bridge Project, the Tarlac-Pangasinan-La Union Expressway Project, and the Subic-Freeport Expressway Project have resumed construction. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque reiterated that the resumption of all infrastructure projects will push through but will be subject to reprioritization. Some 970 qualified farmers in Pangasinan received a 5,000 peso each as a financial subsidy from the Department of Agriculture. According to Lingayen Information Office, the said cash aid was provided under the Rice Farmers Financial Assistance Program of the DA. Aside from the cash subsidy, the United Farmers and Irrigators Association of Barangay Rosario received 1 unit of rice combined harvester from the DA through the Philippine Center for Post-Harvest and Mechanization. Lingayen Mayor Leopoldo Batawil thanked the DA for its support to the farmers. The municipality of Calibo in Aklan, through its Gugma It Calibo, the local version of the Kadiwa of the Department of Agriculture, has helped local farmers and fisherfolk to market their products while under quarantine. Calibo Mayor Emerson La Chica said the online marketing platform of the initiative resulted in the increased patronage of local products by the community. Under the initiative, products are displayed in front of the Agriculture's office during Tuesdays and Thursdays and posted online via the Facebook account of the office. Products that are ordered online are delivered to clients free of charge. The mayor also thanked the Department of Agriculture for supporting local farmers to include rice and fertilizer subsidy and seeds. Meanwhile, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III said the department will help the town's overseas Filipino workers through an emergency employment program. Calibo residents displaced in Boracay following the closure of tourism services may also avail of their livelihood program. The shortage of live weight or fresh supply of hogs in Luzon could be addressed by the continuous supply from hog raisers in Mindanao. Samahan ng Industriya at Agrikultura Chairman Rosendo So said the live weight supply from Mindanao and in parts of Visayas not affected by the African swine fever is hampered by the lack of vessels to ship the products. So said Mindanao has ample supply of hogs to support the shortage in Luzon where there was an ASF outbreak. He noted that while they have enough supply of frozen imported prime cut pork, most consumers prefer fresh pork. Due to the ASF outbreak in Luzon, some 380,000 heads or 24.7 million kilograms of hogs monthly were lost in the entire Luzon. In our business news, the Department of Trade and Industry, U.S. Agency for International Development, National Confederation of Cooperatives, Facebook Philippines, Lazada, and Shopee have partnered to launch a program that will support women enterprising using digital platforms. The Connecting Women Entrepreneurs to the Digital Economy project of DTI and the private sector aims to equip businesswomen with knowledge in maximizing the use of digital platforms to expand and boost their businesses. The project targets top 400 Filipina entrepreneurs across the country who are already selling their products online. DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez said this presents the biggest opportunity to rebuild communities during the COVID-19 pandemic. He said women entrepreneurs will help the country harness digital connectivity as the country reopens the economy. According to DTI, 64% of micro, small, and medium enterprises assisted by the department through the negosyo centers are managed by women. Up next, Malacanang urges critics of the anti-terror law to set aside politics and unite to fight COVID-19. And Palawan is cited as the world's best island in the Travel and Leisure 2020 World's Best Awards. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Sa matinding laban natin sa Coronavirus Disease 2019, sugpuin din natin ang pagkalat ng fake news. Huwag magbahagi ng impormasyon na hindi tiyak ang pinagmulan. I-check mabuti ang source ng balita. Kumuha lamang ng impormasyon mula sa mga official channel ng Department of Health. Huwag magpadala sa maling balita. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Malacanang appeals to critics of the anti-terrorism law to set aside politics and instead help the national government on its continuous fight against COVID-19. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said they should be a concerted effort to prioritize the pandemic instead of using the controversial law to put President Rodrigo Duterte and his administration in a bad light. Roque also reassured that the anti-terrorism law only goes after terrorists and that it has enough safeguards to prevent human rights abuses. On the designation of individuals and groups as terrorists, Roque said the law has adopted resolutions issued by the United Nations Security Council. Several petitions challenging the constitutionality of the anti-terrorism law have been filed before the Supreme Court. Last July 5, Roque said the palace will leave it to the SC to decide on these petitions and will abide by whatever the ruling is. The League of Municipalities of the Philippines expressed support for the Municipal Peace and Order Council of Sadanga Mountain Province and its resolution declaring the Cordillera People's Alliance as persona non grata. Mayor Gabino Ganganan presented the resolution to the League of Municipalities of Mountain Province during their meeting at the Municipal Hall of Bontoc. The resolution was relayed to the body during their meeting on July 3 and 7. The resolution was issued in light of President Duterte's approval of the Anti-Terrorism Law of 2020, which seeks to curb terror acts and threats. In Antique, a village chief from Sebaste town has committed to help the Philippine Army in monitoring the activities of the communist terrorists in their area. Barangay Idiot Chair Pamela Azucena, president of the Liga ng mga Barangay in Sebaste, said they will do their respective roles in maintaining peace and order in their barangays. Civil Military Relations Officer Hil Gamay of the 61st Infantry Battalion requested the barangays to help in the monitoring of CNT activities in their areas and persuaded them not to give in to their demands. The Provincial Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict targets to clear areas in the towns of Culasi, Valderrama, San Remigio, Sibalom, and Hamtik, where terrorists were monitored. More rebels from the New People's Army are returning to the fold of the law. In return, they are learning new skills that will give them livelihood and help give them back to society. Christine Lynn Viajante has the story.
Just a few months ago, more returned to the folds of the law when the City Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict was launched in the hinterlands of Iligan City. Together with 19 of his comrades in the rebel group, Moore is now equipped with driving and welding skills from TESDA under the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program or ECLIP.
Ang pangandoy gina ako maka-eskwela, makalampos, makatrabaho na maayo. Maplasta na din ako ni maparyasan pa. Lugos ra makabasa. Ang akong mga anak akong pangandoy maka-eskwela sila, maplastar sa balaod. Pang-gobyerno pagani kong maayo, isip sa makasulod sa militar. Bisag dili militar basta kay legal nga trabaho, naka-eskwela gid siya.
Aside from the training and cash assistance and livelihood starter kits that the FRs receive from different government agencies, the DILG and local government of Iligan ensure that they will not stop helping these former rebels until they can cope up to the life as members of the mainstream society.
Ang atong mga kaigsunan nga nasa kabukiran, na may programa ang gobyerno. Bayaran ng ilang armas kung surrender sila, i-training sila ni ining TISDA, pagkahuman, maningkamot po nga ato silang mahatagan og kanang panginabuhi para dili na sila mobalik ilang mga anak kung nana sila ay training kung makita na to ang opportunity nga panalitan masugdan na to natong merkado din ha mapatrabaho na to sila 20 raman ni kabuok papasulod na to sa laborer at least man lang makapangita sila og trabaho panginabuhian para sa ilang pamilya.
Meanwhile, the 4th Mechanized Infantry Battalion of the Philippine Army is relentless in pushing the government's efforts and programs to identify CPP-NPA infested areas of Iligan.
June 27, nagkaroon tayo ng enkwentro. Isa sa tropa ko ang namatay, isang nasugatan. Ngunit meron ding namatay sa kabila at nakakuha rin tayo ng armas nila. At bilang sundalo, kami ay hindi natutuwa sa mga ganitong pagkakataon sapagkat ang buhay na nasasayang ay may mas maganda pa sanang patutunguhan. So ako ay muling nananawagan sa ating mga kapatid na nalinlang lamang. Sila ay kinukonsider nating biktima na bumaba kayo, isuko ang inyong armas at mag-avail kayo sa programa ng ating gobyerno upang ang pagdanak ng dugo ay hindi nang muling mauulit, lalong-lalo na dito sa aming nasasakupan sa Iligan City.
For PNA Newsroom, Christine Lynn Viajante of PIA Iligan City Information Center.
The Minasangay Island Ecological Park and Resort in Balangkayan, Eastern Samar is now open for local tourists amid the global health crisis. Minasangay Island is known for its mangroves and rock formations, ideal for seaside view, cliff jumping, and scuba diving. Mayor Alan Contado on Thursday said the government-managed tourist destination strictly follows the guidelines issued by the National Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases. Contado said the town earned 4 million pesos last year from around 100,000 tourist arrivals, largely due to tourism activities in Minasangay Island. To date, Eastern Samar has no active case of COVID-19 as its first 2 patients from Borongan City and Mercedes Town have already recovered. Palawan has been cited as the world's best island in the Travel and Leisure 2020 World's Best Awards. Palawan bested 24 others in the World's Islands category, which included the Galapagos Islands in Ecuador, Maui in Hawaii, Bali in Indonesia, and the Great Barrier Reef Islands in Australia, among others. Travel and leisure writer Sarah Clemens praised the island's dramatic view at sea level, including attractions such as World War II wrecks, old-growth rainforests, and subterranean rivers at Puerto Princesa, which is one of the world's longest. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat welcomed the citation, praising the government's rehabilitation and sustainable development efforts last year, especially in El Nido and Coron. Boracay also made it to number 14 in Travel and Leisure's World's Best Islands list and was hailed 5th in Asia this year. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The Joint Task Force COVID Shield creates guidelines on motorcycle backriding for couples during the community quarantine. Malacanang allays fears of the possible entry of the bubonic plague from China. The government expresses its commitment to implement the Build program to revive the economy after struggling with COVID-19. And Palawan is cited as the world's best island in the Travel and Leisure 2020 World's Best Awards. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, check our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day, stay safe, happy weekend to everyone.